Hi everyone, my name is KJSNB Hiraso, and now I will going to present my output or assignments in our class activity 003 in subject of character formation, nationalism, and patriotism. So the first question is, morality is that quality of human acts which lead people identify some of them good and some evil. So this is a quotation and I will discuss my answers. So here's my answer. Based on my own interpretation, which also based on the lesson, this quotation says that we as a human has a morality. We are acting based on our norms. So what is norms? The norms is that refers to a custom, standards, or rules. We as an individual are all the same. We are all fair and have a fair rights too. We may have a different ways of living, but we have this called the circumstances from the lesson. In terms of morality of human, we cannot assume that everyone are having an act of goodness every time, especially in different circumstances. Let's just say that we can only identify our true colors or itself if we are in one situation where we have both choices to pick, but we must act only one. Morality is also our inner self. It reflects on our personality. Do you agree with that? Yes, it is. Why? Because if we do an evil act, means we are not portraying a good morality. But if we are doing vice versa, it may be an act of high moral. Just like on the quotations of morality is that quality of human acts which lead people identify some of them good and some evil. Morality is that quality of human acts. So it means that we have the power over things. The decisions are still on our hands. On our own hands, in order to lead ourselves in good and to help ourselves to avoid and disregard evilness. Faith can also help us with this. We must have the greatest weapon at all times. In any form of religion, faith in God or in any Lord that we know is the must. He will always help us to find the right ways, but we must also be in accordance to Him. After knowing my point of view and learnings on the part 1 of our activity, which is the morality or the explanation from that quotation, now let's proceed to the discussion for the next topic, which is what is habits. So, ano nga ba ang habits? Let me present my work to all of you. Based on the context of lesson, habits word is the only past participle, the Latin verb habere, which means to have. But in literally, the word habit is a constant idea for everybody or for some as a performance in the possession. We as a Filipino always says, habit mo na yan. Di mo na yan maaalis sa pag-uugali mo. Right? We always hear that kind of phrases and words in some situations or in some manners. These are common phrases I most heard which sounds bad. We thought that habit is just belongs for unpleasant thing, which is not right. According to this consequence of human acts in our lesson, it explains that we should not generalize habits. We should not generalize habits as a bad thing because just like morality, that has two forms of side, the good and the bad. Habits are also the same. Just for example, we can say that it is a bad habit or an evil moral habit, if one person continuously undergo drinking alcohol, taking cigarettes every day, and even taking drugs, therefore that is a vice. This example is what we usually thought habits as a general of bad habits, right? But on the other hand, good moral habit can be identified if, for example, in every disaster in your places or in your barangays, you are always volunteer to give relief goods or just helping people and fixing their broken homes, their dirty place because of the calamity. That is what we call good moral habit, which is a virtue. Remember and please bear in mind the differences of two. Okay guys, I know you have heard the differences of good habit and bad habit. And now let's proceed to discussions about the virtue. Now let's discuss about the virtue. Again, please let me present my answer. The word virtue comes from the Latin word which means virtus, with its corresponds military meaning of courage and the bravery of the soldier. So, a strong heart and a powerful mind. Virtue itself derived from the noun vir, meaning man. But virtue is a manliness in its literary means or a characteristic of a true and upright man. According to the lesson, there are 4 kinds of virtue. First is the faith, fortitude, bodily strength or perfection, and wisdom. These are different kinds. Oh wait. According to the lesson, there are 4 kinds of virtue. The first is faith. The second is fortitude. The third one is bodily strength or perfection, and the last one is wisdom. So based on the lesson, what is faith? Faith is a supernatural or theological virtue of man. So, ibig sabihin paniniwala. So, it comes from within. Fortitude or determination is an acquired moral virtue. So, determination, from the word determination, it comes from persistence, hard work, in order to have that determination to fulfill things or to finish something. Bodily strength or perfection is a physical virtue. From the word bodily, so it means physical virtue that we have in our own body. Wisdom is an intellectual virtue. So wisdom, from the word intellectual, comes from our mind. On the other hand, virtue has 4 chief moral virtues of man. Includes prudence or carefulness and caution, justice or fairness and honesty, fortitude or determination, strength, endurance, and temperance or self-control. So those 4 chief moral virtues discuss its values and knowledge or learnings that we can adapt and apply in our daily lives. For me, virtue is a behavior that we must have and consider in order to have high moral standards. This virtue would be developed by a process of learning. So from the word process, we should not force ourselves in everything. Everything has a process in order to achieve one thing. A person with a virtue will always consider what is right in any circumstances and not what is just necessities in one particular situation. So in my last part of answer, I left one sentence or quotations that I I just created in this part of lesson, which is the virtue. A person with a virtue will always consider what is right in any circumstances, and not what is just necessities in one particular situation. Meaning, having a virtue or being a person with virtue will always have that one word that will always stand for. And now, let's go for the last topic, which is the vices. Very interesting. So, again, let me present my answer. This is my answer. We are all aware that vices is not a good thing in one person's life. Vices is a behavior that shows immoral or weak personal characteristics. Based from our lesson, vices is morally evil operative habit, which means having a lack of virtue. It considers every single human act is a sin. So, from the word sin, it is prohibited. This kind of acts will not help us to grow and improve, but instead, it will make us as a loser. This is part of our lesson not because we're encouraging you to have vices, but this topic is included in the lesson for us to become aware and knowledgeable so that we will not try to have any vices. So from that answer, from my answer as you heard, I said, and in my own opinion, I think this lesson are indicated and this topic is indicated in our lesson because they want us to become knowledgeable and aware on what are the possible outcomes if we have those vices. So this is not part of the lesson to encourage us or to let us to have those knowledge to use in that kind of vices. So this is useful to avoid and disregard those vices. So that's all guys. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. I hope you get something from this video.